How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and as you can tell by the thumbnail and the intro to this video, we have a new project. So 2 videos ago I had made a statement that I was looking for a potential motor to rip apart and rebuild and later throw into my pickup after I'm done completely tearing it apart. So a gentleman by the name of Tracy, I cannot thank this gentleman enough. He reached out to me and we had an awesome conversation, and not getting into too much detail, I now have a motor and I'm super grateful for that and super thankful for him doing what he did. Dude, thank you so much. I honestly can't thank you enough. It was a pleasure meeting you. It was an absolute blast talking to you. Little backstory on this motor. Again, not getting into too much detail. This come out of his brother's truck, who has since left us. It's unfortunate, but he made a lot of great memories with that truck with his brother. And needless to say, they tore the motor out to do the head gaskets, and then they decided to do 12 valve and drop in said truck, which is awesome. Dude, I honestly hope you get that thing running and rebuild it the way that you want to build, to the way that your memories with your brother will stick with you in that. Really do. So let's get into the new project. Here she is, and she came with a 2-wheel drive 4L80 trans that I don't necessarily have a use for just yet. But this is what we have. This motor came out of a 95 Chevrolet 6.5 turbo diesel extended cab dually, and like I said, they tore the motor out to do the head gaskets. You can, let's see if I can turn the light on here. You can see that there is a new head gasket there. So they had different plans for the truck, or he had different plans for the truck, and I now have the old motor to his brother's truck. Again, dude, seriously, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. This is a 929 block. You can see right here on the number stamp, the last 3 numbers, 929. They come out of a 95, and this is potential. That's what I see right here. I want to make this video series for y'all new guys, getting on the forums and, seeing the common issues with them, but not necessarily knowing what anybody's talking about, such as the main web crack-ins, the bad harmonic balancer and pulley, piston cracks, head cracks, stuff like that. This motor, from what I've just noticed on it, isn't in the very best of shape. Obviously, it is set for several years, and with the valve covers off it. He didn't notice if the heads were cracked before we threw them back on, which is totally fine. I have no issues with any of this. So, but you can see that she's a little dirty. She was run hard and put away wet, and this is nothing but potential for me, and to show you guys kind of what some people are talking about as far as the problems go if we run into any, which I imagine, this motor being this old, is going to be some issues. But I do plan on building this motor. However, if the block is complete crap, then plans will change. So long as the block is good, I will do a rebuild series on this, but at the very least I'm going to do a teardown series, a full in-depth teardown on this motor. I'm not going to throw the valve covers back on or anything like that. I'm not going to throw the brackets back on. If this motor does make it to the point where I can rebuild it, I'll show you guys how to put brackets on. But a full teardown at the very least, as far as it sits right now. Like I said in my catching up with all video, I do plan on, if the motor is good, to go in my truck once I completely tear it down and start rebuilding it. That is my ultimate goal with this. It is not going to be a no budget build. However, it is not going to be a modest just refresh or anything like that. It's not going to be a budget rebuild. I want to do more or less some crazy things with this. However, my wallet does, and my bank account does have a limit, and I don't have unlimited funds. So this is going to be a long series. This isn't going to be just 2 videos and done or anything like that. I want to go in depth for the guys who have never gotten into a 6.5 motor, as far as, you know, what to expect, or just a rebuild. I want to go in depth, kind of show you everything I possibly can. And if y'all have any questions, please leave them in the comments of each video below. I will respond to them. It may take me a little while to get back to you because I do work. This is not, I do not get paid for YouTube as of yet. I'm not saying that I'm ever going to get paid for YouTube or anything like that, but I genuinely enjoy just helping people out, answering you guys' questions, shit like that. You know, it's a pleasure talking to y'all. I greatly enjoy it, and I want to help you in any way, shape, or form that I can. So, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Again, this is a little rough. Not in the healthiest of shape. So let's just take another gander at what we're looking at as of right now. Of course, all the intake bolts are off, all the injection lines are loose, and the starter is off. On these blocks, if somebody says that the starter bolts are stripped out, they're referring to these 2 bolt holes, and it's pretty common for the outside hole to crack and break this edge off. If that is to happen, it's not necessarily the end of the world. The block is cast iron and is a kind of a bitch to weld cast iron, but you can do it. But that's primarily what they're talking about. Also, do not, when you install the starter, do not forget the bracket that bolts right here to the front of the starter. That's the primary reason why these outside edges on the block crack. All that weight from the starter is kind of just hanging off 2 bolts, and all that torque that it emits on the flywheel that is up there, it really does a number on these blocks. So be wary of that. Of course, you can see that the head gaskets were blown at some point. He did put new glow plugs in it, which I will not be reusing, but that's just a fun little anecdote every once in a while. Also looks like the rear main was just about toast. Let's go around to the front. The front main was also toast. You can see a bunch of oil residue up front. Also, it is very common for the oil drain for the turbo, this gasket right here, to weep or go bad. Definitely something, it's pretty easy while it's in the truck to replace, but it's another thing to look for, you know, if you're buying a motor or buying a truck or it still has the motor in it. Another thing is the harmonic balancer, or the fluid. It's the harmonic balancer on the stock trucks. You can see right here that the harmonic balancer is having a delamination on this little O-ring right here. In my, let's see, my PM or my oil change video, I kind of talk about that. You can reach your fingers back here. If you feel this delam, replace this harmonic balancer or you'll break your crank. I have no idea if the crank is good in this motor, but nevertheless. So valve covers have been off for a while. Again, there's your crankshaft position sensor. The water pump is going to be fun on these 6.5s. We'll get into that. Also, as I mentioned in my oil change video, the 929 block has a vertical oil filter on it. On my pickup and my wife's pickup, where mine has a 506 block and my wife's has a 141 block. They are horizontal. That is the old block heater. Sorry, I'm not always the sharpest. Dipstick hole in the oil pan, and we had a mouse living in it, which is okay. 2 blocked off coolant passages. The heads are the same. You don't have to worry about whether, say if you have a bad head on one side of the block, you don't have to worry about getting that specific side head because they're the same. But there are 2 different types of heads. Go check out my heads video. I talk about the angled heads and the straight heads. Pretty good information there. So to add suspense to the bottom end, we're going to start from the top, because I don't want to start at the bottom and see if those main webs are cracked, because I don't want to get discouraged as far as like, oh shit, the main webs are cracked, well, might as well not go any further with it. I want to complete this teardown series, so we will pull the heads off. Typically it'd be a 5mm nut on these bolts to hold the intake down, and voila, the intake comes off. Doubtful that I'll be reusing any of these parts except for the brackets, but that intake definitely will not be going back on. Look down in the intake ports. Anybody wondering what these little holes are? These are your EGR ports, and on the heads you cannot get away from these, but when you buy your intake manifold gaskets, you can get one that has a little metal screen on them, or even if you don't have the ones with the metal screen, if you have the non-EGR intake manifold, you can see that that hole is non-existent, and you will not get any exhaust gases back into the intake. So with that off, just gonna pull these injection lines off really quick. They're all loose. No real worries about that. That one pops right off. This one is off. Damn you. It's always the one right at the bottom, isn't it? For anybody who doesn't know, taking the injection lines off while it's in the truck and they're tight, the bottom ones are a humongous pain in the butt. But they are what they are. This is, of course, old technology. It's reliable, but some things can get pretty repetitive on them. It's tedious to take off the valve covers because you have to take all of the intake off and the injection lines off with it. Some people want to take the whole pump off, there's no need. Do not take the pump off just to do fucking valve covers. You're wasting a bunch of time doing that, and then you gotta make sure your pump is back in time. But now that we have everything off of the heads, let's get the heads off. I'm gonna drain the oil and then take the heads off. There's, I believe, 17, if I remember correctly, of these. I believe it's 18mm bolt, and we'll do a quick time lapse of that. Get all 17 bolts off, and then you'll be able to lift the heads off. All right, so after you take the injection lines off, take the valve covers off, and take the 15mm bolts to get the intake manifold off, you're going to want to remove these 4 bolts on each side that are also 15mm. This holds your rocker assemblies down. It's just go easy with them if you're trying to save them, and then you'll be able to twist them right off. They are under spring tension, and if you're trying to save the rocker assemblies, best not to crack them or warp them in any way. Just go slow with it until they're both free off the push rod, each one, and they will come off. After you get the rocker assembly bolts off, go ahead and take the rockers off with the rocker tubes, take the push rods out, and you will be set to take the heads off at that point. So, start the time lapse. Alright, so after you've got the rocker assemblies off, got the push rods out, now it is time to remove the heads. So to remove the heads, you're going to take out each single head bolt. If you're looking to save the heads and prevent them from getting warped, installing the heads, you work from the inside out. Removing the heads, you work from the outside in. So we have done it, and it's worked, and it's prevented a lot of warping. Of course, over heat cycles, the heads can become distorted, of course, but you know, if they're bad heads, they're bad heads. So I don't plan on saving these heads, so I'm just going to work at them regardless if they're good or bad. I don't plan on saving them, but for video's sake, I'll just go from outside in and take the head off. never reuse head bolts. Okay, after you get all the head bolts out, you'll be able to separate the head from the block. About a decent flat blade screwdriver. Now this one will work. You're even here between the block and the head, and just kind of pry up and see if the head moves. You'll be able to lift the heads off. Now be careful, they're not light. Like I said in my head gasket video, you're gonna grab. And just like that, your head is removed. Yeah, brand new head gasket that I'm not gonna use anymore. This is a Pro head gasket. I don't know the thickness right off the top of my head. It should say on here. Oh well. So this will give us a good opportunity to look at these head pins. Yeah. Okay, I'll show you guys. Let's take a look, see here. So you can see quite a bit of wear right there. You can definitely see some rust, of course, all the way around the cylinder. Pretty bad up and down scoring right there. The cylinder isn't all the way down, and pretty bad. You can definitely tell the block had been sitting open for a little while. Nice and oily down there, old oil, really black. But oh, down in the coolant passages, there's some serious gunk. So all of that needs to be addressed. The dowel pins stayed in the block, not on the head. And let's take a look at the head. Yep, see there's a crack right there. On the very back, no crack there. No crack. And no crack. It did get quite a bit of water in there, of course. None of the pre-combustion chamber cups look cracked on this cylinder head. It's got some flash rust and damage. Yeah, so definitely a crack right there between the valves. Something to look for when you're tearing apart your motor, when you're checking the heads. Crack's unfortunate. I would just get a new head at that point. But I can only imagine what the other head looks like. But I'm gonna tear this side off. Maybe give you guys a quick show if I find anything bad or worse than that one down there. But yeah, definitely the block ain't looking too good. But let's keep rolling. Alright, so mostly the same deal on this side, no surprise there. It's pretty eat up, of course. None of the pistons are cracked, of course, but it's just the block. I mean, she's in rough shape, fellas. Let's check out this side, cylinder head. Kind of looking like a crack right there. Let's see. And like the beginning of a crack right there. So yeah, these heads, of course, I ain't gonna reuse them. I'm just going with different heads. Same deal on this side, but same sludge just caked in the coolant passages here. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, she needs a deep cleaning for sure. One's been in there a long time, so. Alright everybody, so that's gonna do it for the 929 block for today. I am sweaty, I gotta work tomorrow, and I've gotten more information about this block, as you guys can see, so we'll see where this project goes. Of course, nevertheless, how bad it is, I'm going to tear it down so you guys have a better understanding of it anyways for the new guys that have never been in it, or maybe just a refresh for the older guys. So thank you all so much for watching. If you are interested in more 6.5 content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Don't feel obligated, of course, but you know, if you maybe want to learn something or refresh on something, feel free to check out any of my videos. I hope I'm helpful to the furthest extent. If you are interested in 6.9, 6.2, 6.5, and 7.3 content, along with Mercedes IDIs and the old Chevy Chevettes that had the old IDI diesels in them, please consider checking out IDI Legends on Instagram and Facebook. I will leave those links in the description below, as well as our website. If you guys want, feel free to pick up some merch, like a sticker or hat or t-shirt. We do have new hats on the way, I promise. We are all sold out as of right now. However, we have some new designs coming, which hopefully I'll be able to show in the next video. But thank you all so much for watching. We'll come back to you, legends.